Hi there, Gemini. Thank you for joining me for your monthly forecast for May. Your ruler, Gemini, is hugely influential at the best of times. He governs commerce, talk, thought, communication, distribution, transport, travel, and all these areas can be really influenced this month because right at the end of April, Mercury went into the second of its yearly retrogrades. Now this is going to last right up until the 21st of this month. But for you, it's where this is located that I think is particularly important, because it's being activated in the most psychological part of your scope. The Sun's in this area too, along with Venus, the planet of relating. Communication around close relationships are going to be something that is going to need a lot of patience this month and a lot of care. Because it's not just Mercury that's in retrograde. Mars and Saturn, which are located in your sector of relating, are also tracking backwards too. Now, when Mars is in retrograde in this area, it could cause a lot of frustration if things don't go your way in terms of how you interact with others. Saturn generally, in the sector of partnerships, can be a limiting influence. It can highlight the things that are wrong in relationships and not necessarily make us feel very fulfilled, even if we're in a tie which might be in some ways quite solid. So those energies are also going to be active. But Jupiter is twisting backwards through to the 8th, and Pluto is going to be tracking backwards for the whole of this month in your sector of shared resources. So if you're in a live-in relationship or a tie which has a psychological dimension which is not necessarily easy, this could be a really important month. And part of this can come from the fact that you are such a logical sign. Therefore, the way that you relate things tends to be through your mind, through your intellect. And you're being really asked by the heavens to be much more spiritual, to get in touch with the subconscious side of your nature, which can help you to really understand what makes you tick, but also how anyone that you're interacting with ticks too. If there are issues of trust, or lack of sincerity, or a lack of momentum in any kind of relationship, this could be a really key time. You may decide to call it quits if a tie is really bumping along the bottom and you feel you've done everything you can to try to keep it going. You may feel that you've got no choice but to move on. Alternatively, there could be a link to someone from your past, but just who this is could turn out to be a huge surprise. Because your subconscious is going to be activated so strongly, thoughts and emotions can come up from the depths that you just didn't know were there. And if there is someone that you used to be involved with, there may be still much more of a connection, an emotional connection, than perhaps you realised. And that could see a reunion, it could see just thinking about things, or still grieving away a past separation where there's still some unfinished business. But this month is not all going to be tricky, because your ruler Mercury is going to be forging a sensational link with Pluto in a way which can help you to be the investigator in chief. So it's time to don your detective's mac, Gemini, because if you want to search out the meaning of life and become much more knowledgeable about all sorts of things, all sorts of mysteries, this can be a month when you do a lot of research, but you can emerge when the Sun enters your sign on the 21st in a much stronger and wiser position. Also, there is a new moon on the 6th, but it's not the easiest new moon of the year. It's probably the toughest one, but it is a new moon. And it's asking you to embrace emotions, to not be fearful of them. If there is part of you that just wants to joke them away, or would rather change the subject, or just use your intellect to knock down anyone's point of view just because maybe it is going to be a lot more emotional in its dynamic, try to avoid doing that. Use the penetrative energies that are going to be swirling around this month to educate yourself and to link better and more successfully with others. And all that's going to require a lot of subtlety and a lot of sensitivity too. There is also Jupiter, which starts to go forwards on the 9th. It slammed on the brakes just before the end of early this year in January. And I think for you, anything to do with home or family could be an area that really flourishes, or if you're thinking of property renovation, between now and early September. But as this month goes on and you begin to understand more, Jupiter, Mercury and Pluto are all forging a grand alliance, which can be fantastically important. Venus also gets into an angle with Pluto between the 11th and 16th, and there could be a secret fascination or attraction to someone you may want to keep to yourself for now, but it could burn really hot. And then on the 21st, the Sun powers into your sign, but immediately the Moon slots into Sagittarius. And if there is a relationship glitch, I do think that that full moon is going to be really important. But with Mercury going forwards on the same day, and Venus transiting into your sign on the 24th, I think you'll start to make sense of all of this. However, when Mars rewinds to the point that it moves back into Scorpio on the 28th, if there is an issue that you need to do more thinking about or take more action about, Mars is going to spur you along. So it's a fascinating month. Huge amount of retrograde, and of course the key one for you is Mercury. But I think there could be times when you feel other people are keeping you at a distance, or you want to keep people at a distance. You feel more reticent, quieter. But if you use that to maybe undergo some therapy, study personal development, do some healing techniques, do anything to do with meditation, spirituality and mindfulness, change your diet so it's much less aggravating to your system and much more gentle. This month, or the first 3 weeks of it, can prepare you for the last 10 days when you really start to show people what you're made of, and how so you'll do that. Thank you for joining me. Good luck and goodbye for now.